Good day, everyone. I am Christian J. A. Ingrava, and today we are going to talk about the reproductive system of the mammalian embryonic. So, for our learning objectives, first is to identify and describe the male and the female reproductive organs in mammals. So, here I am going to tackled my part, which is the male reproductive of the mammalian embryonic. Second is to identify and describe functions of key anatomical reproductive structures present in various types of animals, including the spermatica, the cloaca, the ovary and related structures, and the testes and related structures. And third, compare and contrast the process, products, and locations of male and female gametogenesis in mammals. And fourth, describe rules of hormones in gametogenesis and ovulation. And lastly is explain how various medical interventions affect reproductive cycles and fertilization. So for the introduction, every living thing has a number of organ systems operating to form specific functions. So, if you were to examine one of these systems, you would observe a number of parts working for distinct purposes. An organ system resembles a running machine, like a machine with gears and gadgets working like a clockwork to do a single task. So an organ system comprises organs working together to carry out a particular function. So a reproductive system is an organ system for the creation of offspring. Explore PowerPoint presentation to learn more about each part of the reproductive system and the role it plays in the reproduction of life. So, diversity of animal reproductive anatomy. So, the reproductive structures of many animals are very similar, even across different lineages. So, in a process that begins with two gametes, which commonly known as eggs and the sperm, and ends with a zygote, which is fertilized egg. In animals ranging from insects to humans, males produce sperm in testes, and sperm are stored in the epididymis until ejaculation. So sperm are small, mobile, low-cost cells that occur in high numbers. Females produce an ovum, or egg that matures in the ovary. Eggs are large cells that require a substantial investment of time and energy to form, are non-movable, are rare relative to sperm numbers. So when the eggs are released from the ovary, they travel to the uterine tubes for fertilization. So in animals that reproduce via internal fertilization or are released in the aqueous environment. So in animals that reproduce via external fertilization. So, for our purposes, all sexual reproducers have females with ovaries that produce large eggs, which subsequently travel down a uterine tube. So, and males with testes that produce a small, plenteous sperm is stored in the epididymus. So, of course, beyond this general anatomy, there are some interesting differences in different types of animals. In some invertebrate species, including many as insects and some mollusks and worms, the female has a spermatheca, a specialized sac which stores sperm for later use, sometimes up to a year. Fertilization can be timed with environmental or food conditions that are optimal for offspring survival. And non-mammal vertebrates such as most birds and reptiles have a cloaca. So this means that a single body opening which functions in the digestive, excretory, and reproductive system. So mating between birds usually involves positioning the cloaca openings opposite each other for transfer of sperm from male to female. Ducks are rare exception where the males have a penis. Mammals have separate openings for the systems in the female. And placental mammals have a uterus for support of developing offspring. So the uterus has two chambers in a species that produce large numbers of offspring at a time, while species that produce one offspring, such as primates, have a single chamber. In mammalian reproductive anatomy and gametogenesis and hormonal regulation, so this is the reminder of today's content to focus on mammalian reproduction, featuring humans as a model organism. So we'll first look at males, followed by the females. So it is all about emphasizing the structures and the process of gametogenesis and the hormonal control of reproduction. So gametogenesis, the production of sperm and eggs, takes place through the process of meiosis. So this meiosis produces haploid cells with half the number of chromosomes normally found in diploid cells. Hormones are dynamic, which means that it can be changing. So this process can be trickier to understand than basic anatomy of gametogenesis. And hormonal changes are the center of the fascinating biology of reproduction. So the human male and female reproductive cycles are both controlled by their interaction of hormones from the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary with hormones from reproductive tissues and organs. So we have here the hypothalamus since gonadotropin releasing hormones, or what we call the GnRH, to the anterior pituitary in follicle stimulating hormones, which means that if it is a FSH, and luteinizing hormone, or what we call the LH, are released from anterior pituitary into the blood as a result. So although FSH and LH are named after their functions in female reproduction, they are produced and play important roles in controlling reproduction in both sexes. So here we go. In male reproductive system of the mammalian embryonic. So the male reproductive anatomy. So in the male reproductive system, the scrotum houses the testicles or the testes. In singular, it is what we call the testes, which produce sperm. In some reproductive hormones, sperm becomes immobile when kept at body temperature. So therefore, the scrotum and penis are external to the body, as illustrated below, so that a proper temperature is maintained for motility. In land mammals, the pair of testes must be suspended outside the body at about 2 degrees Celsius, lower than body temperature, to produce viable sperm. Infertility can occur in land mammals when the testes descend through the abdominal cavity during fetal development. So though sperm must be produced and stored at temperatures lower than body temperature in the testes, sperm are warmed to body temperature when deposited in the female reproductive tract. So the immediate warming of a sperm causes them to experience a burst of swimming activity, but then they begin to lose motility after several hours at body temperature. So as you can see, here is the reproductive organ of a human and an animal. So as you can see in the right, that is an animal for a ram animal. So sperm are produced in the seminiferous tubules inside the testes. So the sperm cell production is mediated by 2 different types of cells. Nursemaid cells, called the Sertoli cells, which protect the germ cells and promote their development, and cells of Leydig, which produce high levels of testosterone once the male reaches adolescence and regulate sperm development. So when the sperm have developed flagella and are nearly mature, they leave the testicles and enter the epididymis. So where the sperm mature, So during ejaculation, the sperm leave the epididymis and enter the vas deferens, which carries the sperm behind the bladder and forms the ejaculatory duct with the duct from the seminal vesicles. So semen is a mixture of the sperm and the spermatic duct of secretions of fluids from accessory glands that contribute most of the semen's volume. So the bulk of the semen comes from the accessory glands associated with the male reproductive system. So these are the seminal vesicles, the prostate gland, and the vulvareuteral gland, all of which are illustrated below. So the seminal vesicle are a pair of glands that make thick, yellowish, and alkaline solution. So as the sperm are only motile in alkaline environment, a basic pH is important to reverse the acidity of the vaginal environment. So the solution also contains the mucus, fructose, a source of energy for the sperm cells, a coagulating enzyme, ascorbic acid, which means the vitamin C, and the local acting hormones called the prostaglandins may help stimulate smooth muscle contractions in the uterus, and the seminal vesicle glands account for 60% of the volume of semen. So the prostate gland surrounds the urethra, the connection to the urinary bladder. So it has a series of short ducts that directly connect to the urethra. So the gland is a mixture of the smooth muscle and glandular tissue. The muscle provides much more of the force needed for ejaculation to occur. So the glandular tissue makes a thin, milky fluid that contains citrate, stimulates sperm motility. So enzymes and process-specific antigen, which means PSA. PSA is a proteolytic enzyme that helps to liquefy the ejaculate several minutes after release from the male. Prostate gland secretions account for about 30% of the volume of semen. So the bulbourethral gland releases its secretion prior to the release of the volume of the semen. So the mucus secretions of this gland help lubricate and neutralize any acid residue and the urethra left over from the urine. So this usually accounts for a couple of drops of fluid in the total ejaculate and may contain a few sperm. So withdrawal of the penis from the vagina before ejaculation to prevent pregnancy may not work if sperm are present with urethral gland selection. So this table briefly summarizes the major organs, locations, and functions of the mammalian male reproductive anatomy. So we have here the organ, scrotum, penis, testis, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and vulvareuteral glands. So in scrotum, it is located in external, and its main function is to carry and support the testis. And penis, it is located in external. Main function is to deliver and copulating organ. Testis is located in external, and the main function is to produce sperm and male hormones. Seminal vesicles is located in internal, which main function is to contribute to semen production. And prostate gland is located in internal, which main function is to contribute to semen production. And lastly, the bulbourethral glands is located in internal. Main function is to clean urethra and ejaculation. So the male reproductive system, so a successful livestock producer needs a complete understanding of the male reproductive organs. So usually a livestock farm will have only a limited number of the males available for the breeding purposes. So the male reproductive system has a several interconnected working parts that must function together for successful mating to occur. So in the reproductive systems of a male mammal, the major organs are the testicles, epididymis, scrotum, vas deferens, urethra, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, Cowper's gland, and penis. So in testicles, it is play a major role in animal reproduction by producing sperm. So, or the male with 6 cells, also called the spermatozoa. Testicles also produce a hormone, what we call the testosterone, which causes the appearance and behavior of the animal to have a masculine trait. So every male animal has 2 testicles. And the sperm cells enter the epididymis attached to each testicle. So they are stored there while they are mature. So, and the scrotum is a 2-lobe sac that contains and protects the 2 testicles. So it also regulates the temperature of the testicles, which must be maintained below temperature. So another important organ of the male reproductive system is the vas deferens, which serves as a transportation tube that carries the sperm-containing fluid from each epididymis to the urethra. So the urethra is a large, the muscular canal extending from the urinary bladder to the end of penis. So several glands add volume and nutrients to the sperm-rich fluid coming from the epididymis. So they are known as the accessory 6 glands. So the seminal vesicles open into the urethra to produce a fluid that protects and transport a sperm. So the transport gland is near the urethra and the bladder. So it produces a fluid that mixes with the seminal fluid throughout animal reproduction. So the mixture of seminal and prostate fluids sperm is called semen. The Cowper's gland produces a fluid that moves down the urethra ahead of the seminal fluid. So this fluid cleans and neutralizes the urethra, helping protect the sperm as they move through. The penis deposits the semen with the female reproductive systems. The urethra in the penis is surrounded by a spongy tissue that fills with blood when the male is sexually aroused. So this caused an erection, which is necessary for copulation. An erection which is necessary for copulation, or mating to occur. The sigmoid flexor, commonly found in bulls, rams, and boars, and the retractor muscles extend the penis from the sheath. So a tubular fold of skin, the glans penis at the tip of the penis acts as the sensory organ. So in summary, to have a successful livestock operation, a producer must understand animal reproduction. To gain complete understanding, a producer must be familiar with the parts of both male and female reproductive system. So in the male reproductive system, the major organs are the testicles, epididymis, scrotum, vas deferens, urethra, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, Cowper's gland, and the penis. And in the female reproductive system, the major organs are the ovaries, oviducts, uterus, vulva, bladder, clitoris, and then the vagina. So the male gametogenesis or the spermatogenesis, so spermatogenesis illustrated in the side. It occurs in the seminiferous tubules in the testes. So sperm stem cells called spermatogonia are present at birth but are inactive until puberty. So when hormones from the anterior pituitary cause the activation of these cells and continuous production of sperm. So sperm production continues into old age to produce sperm, a cell called a spermatocyte, so a precursor to sperm. So undergoes meiosis to produce 4 haploid spermatids and immature sperm. So once the spermatid develops a flagellum, which means a tail that allows it to swim, it is called a sperm cell. So 4 sperm cells result from each spermatocyte that goes through meiosis. So as you can see in the picture, during the spermatogenesis, 4 sperm result from each primary spermatocyte. So spermatogenesis begins when the 2 in, also known as the diploid, and spermatogonium undergoes the mitosis, so producing more spermatogonia. So the spermatogonia undergo meiosis 1, produce haploid, or what we call the 1N, as the secondary spermatocytes, and meiosis 2 producing spermatids. So differentiation of the spermatids results in mature sperm. And hormonal control of spermatogenesis. So just like oogenesis, spermatogenesis is controlled by FSH and LH. Testosterone also plays a role in spermatogenesis. So first, FSH, which means it stimulates spermatogenesis in the testes. LH stimulates testosterone production. And then lastly, testosterone further stimulates spermatogenesis. It is also the hormone responsible for the secondary sexual characteristics that develop in the male during adolescence, including depending of the human voice, the growth facial, axillary, and the pubic hair in the beginnings of the sex drive. So while this doesn't occur in monthly cycle in females, and the hormones interact in feedback cycles which initiates during puberty in response to signals from the hypothalamus that begin at the onset of puberty in males, and the pituitary gland produces FSH. FSH enters the testes, begin facilitating spermatogenesis, which is the production of sperm cells, or what we call the gametes. So by meiosis, so LH made by the pituitary also enters the testes to stimulate the production and release testosterone into the blood. So testosterone stimulates spermatogenesis as well as the development of male secondary sex characteristics that include deepening in the voice, growth, facial, axillary, and pubic hair in the beginnings of the sex drive. So a negative feedback system occurs in the male when sperm counts get too high, or over about 20 million nanometer. So rising testosterone levels cause certolizals to release the hormone inhibin, which acts on the hypothalamus and pituitary gland to inhibit the release of FSH and LH. So the inhibition causes spermatogenesis to slow down until proper levels are again achieved. So once the sperm levels are reduced, the certolizals stop releasing inhibin and the sperm count increases. So how and when gametes made? So as you've seen in the two videos, production of sperm and the egg takes place through the process of meiosis, but there are some big differences between the process to make eggs versus sperm. So when gametes start to form, egg production begins during embryonic development, so before birth. So this then is arrested during meiosis until puberty. So sperm production does not begin until puberty. So when gametes finish being made, so egg production is not actually completed until after fertilization. So while sperm production is complete prior to ejaculation. So how many gametes are made from the gamete stem cell? Egg production results in only single cell from each egg stem cell. So sperm production results in 4 sperm from each sperm stem cells. Rate of production, so once an individual enters puberty, sperm production is continuous in a surveyor built process. So egg production occurs one at a time at each menstrual cycle. I think that's all, and thank you.